If you've spent a decent amount of time in the Yakuza community, chances are you will have heard the terms Kenzan, Ishin and Kurohyou get thrown around quite a bit. And for good reason. These spin-off series carry as much importance in the series' longevity as the mainline titles do, with most of the games being of equal and sometimes even greater quality than some of the main games themselves. However, while each of the spin-offs has their fair share of supporters, especially Judgment in more recent times, I feel that Kurohyou is the series of games that is least often discussed by the Western community. Arguably, that's due to a lack of an official localization. But with recent efforts shown through fan-made translations of the games, more people have slowly started to give these spin-offs a shot as well. Now, if you're wondering why I would make a video of this length just to talk about two PSP titles released around a decade ago, you probably missed out on the additional media tied to Kurohyou. We're talking written media, not one, but two live-action adaptations, and some random products on the side. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So, let's start from the top. This video will have 4 segments. Part 1 will cover the games, Part 2 will deal with the live-action adaptations, Part 3 will cover the manga, and Part 4 will be the miscellaneous section, for the collector stuff. So, let's begin. The first thing to come out of this franchise was 2010's Kurohyou Ryu ga Gotoku Shinshou, released exclusively for the PSP. It follows a young chimera by the name Ukiyo Tatsuya, who accidentally murders a high-ranking Tojo clan member while attempting to rob a loan shark's office. Since he was caught on camera, he is now forced to compete in an underground arena called Dragon Heat to earn his freedom from the Yakuza. The game, much like its sequel, is reminiscent of the PS2 era of Yakuza games, most notably with the camera angles and transitions, while the combat resembles games like Tekken 3 and Def Jam. You can find a physical copy of the game on eBay for a hefty sum, but if you want to go balls out, you can get all of the Kurohyou media through Yahoo auctions, as the prices are much more reasonable. As far as the unofficial English translation is concerned, you can find an incomplete patch done by KHH Subs on sites like CD Romance. Note that only the main story is translated, and attempting to do specific sub-stories may result in unexpected crashes, so make sure you have the Japanese version ready for a switch if it comes to that. The second game is 2020's Kurohyou 2 Ryu ga Gotoku Ashura Hen, another PSP exclusive. Now, without giving away any plot details that may spoil the ending to the first game, let's just say that Tatsuya gets involved with a violent Osaka-based gang named the Ashura. This leads to a broadening of the scope, not just in the gameplay department, but also the story, now taking place in both Kamurocho and Sotenbori, with a slew of new characters. Acquiring a physical copy is the same as with the original game, but for the English translation, this is where things get interesting. You see, a fan group by the name Team K4L is slated to release a complete English patch for the game at the beginning of 2022. And provided you have a legitimate copy of the game, you too will be able to experience it in its full glory, with or without an emulator. The final entry in the segment is a bit of a weird entry, to be honest with you. It's a game called Kurohyou Nakuru, or Yakuza Black Panther Knuckles, and it's a flash game of sorts. Now, while this probably isn't an official release by Sega, its similarities to last year's Streets of Kamurocho and the sheer obscurity meant that I just had to put it on this list. You can find links to it online and try the game out for yourself, but make sure you have a good antivirus active, you never know with this stuff. Setting-wise, it's based on Kurohyou 1, with the final boss of the entry being Hayato Makabe, a fighter you encounter about halfway through the original game. And that concludes Part 1. Up next, it's time for the live-action adaptations. Now, I know some of you are cautious when it comes to projects like these, I mean, just look at the first Yakuza movie, but as someone who has platinumed the first game and watched the accompanying J-drama, I can say it's definitely worth a watch or two. As was stated earlier, the Kurohyou franchise has 2 live-action adaptations, one for each of the PSP games. The first one, based on Shinshou, was released in 2010 and features Saito Takumi, who would later become the new voice actor for Ukiyo Tatsuya, as the main role. While the starting premise of the drama is similar to the game, the stories differ quite a bit in the long run, with the J-drama showing Tatsuya as a much more sympathetic character than the game. It offers a vastly different experience than the game, and is certainly worth checking out because of it. You can get the DVD set for the series on Yahoo Auctions, but to my knowledge, it lacks English subtitles. However, that doesn't mean you can't watch it in English. Without going into too much detail, let's just say that there's a link in the description of this video leading to a Reddit post that could help you out on that front. However, I still think you should get the DVD as well, just as a collector's item, if anything. Now, in regards to the J-drama based on Ashura Hen, the situation is a bit murky. You can find the physical copies much like with Shinshou, but this time I couldn't find any traces of an English translation online, official or fan-made. That means that, unless someone is working on it behind the scenes, you may have to skip out on this adaptation for a while. However, knowing the dedication of the Yakuza community, I'd say it's just a matter of time before a translation surfaces out of nowhere. And that's the end of part 2. This part of the video will be fairly short compared to the rest. Unlike the live-action series, the manga adaptation of Kurohyou only covers the first game and spans 3 volumes. They were released in the span of 7 months, with Volume 1 releasing at the end of 2010 and Volume 3 releasing in July the following year. Each of the volumes contains roughly 200 pages and seems to adapt the game's story more faithfully to the original game. Having said that, I've yet to find any scans of the manga online, be it as trial footage for a service like Bookwalker or just a casual fan edit. This means that there's a somewhat minuscule possibility that we come across another original take on the main story, much like with the live action. I intend to get the physical copies of the manga in the foreseeable future and will keep you posted on any news regarding this entry on the list. But if you don't want to wait, you know the drill. Finally, we arrive at the miscellaneous section. If you remember the Yakuza 0 Business Edition or the Yakuza 6 After Hours Edition, you'll get a good idea of what this section will be used for. Starting with Shinshou, the first Kurohyou game got a special release in the form of the Premium Box, as they called it. This box contained the PSP game, a UMD with the music video for the song Muppet by Rize, a PSP case made to look like pristine crocodile leather, or rather a pristine crocodile leather bag, a Kurohyou stylized cleaning cloth, and a copy of Young Kamutai magazine, which served as a sort of Welcome to Kamurocho pamphlet. All in all, a pretty nice release. Next up, Ashura Hen got its own collector's edition release with the Famitsu DX pack. It contained a towel with the Dragon Heat logo etched into it and a DVD featuring a special video for the song Majima no Majiroku, which served as the karaoke track for that game. Lastly, while the final entry isn't a physical release, it is a form of paying homage to the Kurohyou franchise and can be found in Ryuga Gotoku Online. This collectible card game spin-off received 3 new cards via an event that lasted from November 24th to November 30th, 2020, and the cards in question were illustrated by Spooky Graphic. This is the group responsible for the outstanding cutscene illustrations found in the Kurohyou games, and they used that same drawing style to bring us new versions of Kiryu, Ryuji and Ichiban to celebrate RGG Online's 2-year anniversary. If you're not aware, this non-canon spin-off is known for including characters from all over the franchise, living or dead, and giving them new and updated narratives so that they too can partake in this gacha madness. While we also had cameos of Ishin characters in the game, these illustrations were the closest that we got to seeing someone like Tatsuya or Saki appear in this game as well. And while it may not be much, it gives me hope that we may hear new stories from this underrated protagonist's life beyond the first 2 games and into the modern era. Wait, hold up. I forgot to mention one more thing for this segment. Did you know that Ryuga Gotoku has an official YouTube channel? Well, it does, and it's a goldmine for the hardcore fans of the series, as it features a bunch of behind-the-scenes footage for almost every entry in the series. For Kurohyou specifically, we have videos of the voice actors recording some of their lines, doing brief interviews, or just having a good time. Absolutely check it out if you find the time, cause it's a fun watch even without the English subtitles. Alright, now back to the ending. And that about wraps it up. I apologize for such a lengthy video, but with the release of Kurohyou 2's localization on the horizon, I felt like this was the right time for a project like this. I hope you enjoyed it. There is a possibility I will do more content on Kurohyou and even the Yakuza series as a whole in the future, so feel free to check back here from time to time. See you next time, I hope. Take care.